Welcome to Beyond the Headlines on the WMBD Plus app, where we break down today's local news stories with our very own reporters. I'm Brianna Rittman.
And I'm Cameron Main. Today's big stories are lawmakers are attempting to find a way to stop kids from accidentally consuming cannabis products, and historical context on why discussing mental health in the Black community can be a touchy subject to some.
And if you are still attempting to secure a restaurant reservation this Valentine's Day weekend, you may be out of luck already. I hope you're not waiting that late.
No.
But our first story of the day, Cameron's already in the hot seat to discuss how lawmakers are attempting to stop children in households from eating cannabis that looks almost identical to real food. So what's the issue here, Cameron?
So basically, if you are someone that has used marijuana or had an edible before, they look awfully like cookies and candy that you would see in stores. Some of these products are even designed specifically to look like it. And so basically what happens is the kids see these on the table, they say, ooh, look, it's a cookie, I could eat that. And then, uh-oh, it's got cannabis in it. Oops. So what they're sent to is the ER because they've been technically poisoned, depending on the dose, because a lot of these edibles, they ain't soft. They're pretty strong on their THC count. So this has become kind of an issue for Illinois in a state that has legalized marijuana, because they're seeing increased calls across the board in some of these poisonings. And I talked to a state senator about this, and what he said is that what happens when when they receive a call and they're able to actually discern that it is cannabis that caused the poison, it immediately sets off a DCFS investigation.
Oops, well,
like, this is a big deal, so it's that's kind of the issue at stake here. Just these look a little too much like cookies, and if you just leave them on the table and they just eat them, what can you do?
Well, not only do they look like them, there is a company called Cookies, and as a sweet tooth fanatic, I didn't go there, but when I saw, I was like, oh, there's a cookie place over here, and then because I do have friends that indulge in the devil's lettuce.
In the devil's lettuce, some might say.
They were like, no, that's they told me it was like a dispensary of sorts. And I was like, oh. Okay, good thing I didn't waste my time. Right. So I can understand how kids can get things mixed up. But what are lawmakers trying to do to solve this? Yeah,
so basically that state senator I was talking to, he's kind of leading this legislation that would require, so there's already some signage on these products like, hey, this has cannabis in it. But they're looking to add some signage on it that goes, hey, put this in a locked container. If you have children in the area, make sure it's out of reach of children. Putting that in the people's minds to let them know, hey, you may not be thinking about that. Right. You may not be thinking, and that's a fair thing to say. You just had it and you're high off your mind. You're like, oh, I can't have this anymore. You're not making the best decisions, let's say. So it is just understanding that, people make mistakes, but this is a serious issue. And so this is kind of the first step of looking at, instead of banning these edibles outright, because they are popular, there's no reason to go in and kind of destroy an industry.
Right. Prohibition era.
Exactly. Is it just on, and there's benefits to edibles over smoking. Smoking is obviously something that goes straight into your lungs. Inhaling smoke of any kind isn't healthy.
Right.
So having an edible is kind of a more healthy option to consume marijuana. But again, it's just that they could get in the kids' bodies. So.
And how can we keep them from getting in the kids' bodies?
Well, the senator recommends that you keep it in a locked container. And if you don't have a locked container, maybe put it at the closet where, that kid just can't really reach it. I think that's really important. And it's just something to really keep in mind of. We don't really think about too much about where we put our stuff. Personally, I don't take any of it.
Right.
But if you do, and I don't have kids either, so I'm in the safe zone.
Right. Same.
But if you do have kids and you do take this stuff, which I'm not shaming you, it's a free product. Everybody's allowed to do what they want and have their fun, but just keep in mind, if you've got a kid, they could have it. So.
But I also think talking to your kids too, because with alcohol, well, my parents weren't drinkers, but I know there were some people where it's just like, this is mommy and daddy's drink. This is an adult drink or whatever. That's just what it is. So you go to the wedding, this is for the adults, this is for the kids.
Yeah,
so
if you eat this,
these are adult cookies, these are kid cookies.
They will over-dramatize it. They'll be like, oh, if you eat this, you are getting 0 presents.
You won't like this anyway. They'll compare it to something you don't like. I heard parents tell them, you won't like it because it's spicy, too spicy for you, or some people think they're allergic to things because that's what their parents
Well, then they also do the thing where they're like, oh, take a sip of the champagne, and then it tastes horrible.
Right. So sometimes. Oh my gosh. Well, here's a story that's got me and Cameron talking this evening. Greeting card proposals. When you care enough to send the very best, but not enough to say it face to face.
Oh.
Do a little search for yourself on TikTok and you'll see videos of elaborate proposals from all around the world. But in the end, there is no, will you marry me? More like, here's a card.
A recent report from a greeting card company shows 10,000 customers bought proposal-themed cards in 2025.
They got simple phrases like, be my husband or be my wife. Some call it a cop-out.
Others call it charming, and nearly everyone agrees it all depends on the context, like, did the card come with an actual verbal proposal or a ring?
Right.
Yeah, I feel like when I did my proposal, I don't know if I would have done it, with a card. I think I would have had it mailed straight back to me, which is funny because we were living together at the time. So she probably would have given it to me and been like, try again. That would, my wife now, she wasn't really
Do you
expecting.
remember to wear your ring today?
I do have it on. Don't worry, I have it on this day. But she was like, I don't really want anything too extravagant or too crazy, but I do want something at least, a little more
Special,
interesting, at least something that you tried. And I was like, yeah, I will try.
Okay, that's sweet.
She did say yes.
She did.
All right, when we come back on Beyond the Headlines, we've got Brianna taking her turn in the hot seat. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines on the WMBD Plus app. Our next story puts Brianna in the hot seat. Today, she will be discussing mental health care for the Black community and why there is such a gap in care. So who did you speak with on this topic?
Okay, I spoke with Miss Faye Freeman Smith. She's a licensed clinical professional. Okay. I think I said that right. Mental health professionals have like all those letters all behind their title. But she specializes in like grief, trauma, anxiety, EDMR therapy. She's been in practice for more than 30 years. So, there she is on the screen.
Oh my gosh.
Miss Faye Freeman Smith. It is licensed clinical professional counselor. That's what she is. And so we sat down and talked about, why are there some gaps in getting our care. So like, for instance, according to the Office of Minority Health, in 2024, African American adults were 11% less likely to report having a mental illness in the previous year and 36% less likely to have received mental health treatment.
Wow, okay. So what did she say about that gap then?
So like, historically speaking, there just was a time where we did not have those resources available, made affordable to us. And specifically, she emphasized culturally competent. Each culture has their own sayings and phrases, and then people may not understand. So she said people need to be culturally competent to the Black experience so they can better help their clients. And so she said what we did was we would just go to the church as our, help us navigate mental problems throughout the year. So that has been a thing for centuries, depending on faith. A majority of the Black community. She mentioned like Pew Research said about like 80-something% of us go to church. African Americans go to church.
Yeah,
it's
I know,
a huge number of
That was something I was really surprised coming to America because I had no idea that the Black community was so involved in faith and religion.
Right.
I was so surprised. Actually, a funny anecdote, I will say this. One of my Black friends that I made at ISU, I had like a little rant about some religious things. I was like, oh, this kind of annoys me about religion. And then I had this whole rant in front of him and he goes, oh, by the way, I'm religious.
Oh, okay.
I was like, I didn't know that. So I was like shading the...
Yeah, so this is not the Bible Belt South, as we call it, Bible thumping. We kind of gotten away from that, but overall faith has been very foundational. So I also spoke to a client as well who balances like faith and therapy.
Right, okay. So how can the church and mental health professionals work together then?
Well, so like Miss Faye Freeman Smith, she mentioned she's even spoken at churches, like about different mental health topics. So that's kind of how they bridge that gap by working together. For her, I go to therapy. It's like my therapist is a faith-based therapist as well. So that's how that bridge gap. We have culturally competent, and one of the things in our culture is the church. So you have therapists that are church. Now, there's a small percent, according to the American Psychological Association, only 5.49% of therapists are African American. So we do have a small gap, but that number is gradually rising as time goes on, because about 2018 it was a little like 2% or so, 2.5%.
So it's gone up a little
It's going
bit.
up over time.
Right, and it especially helps, the education has just become a lot more available,
Right.
and, I mean, black people just got more rights, it's crazy to
Right.
say, it's just like, and sometimes it's crazy to think, like, it's just like back in the 1960s, like, we just didn't have as many
Right.
rights, and
Now
still
we do.
dealing with racism.
Right, and
which is
still
crazy.
dealing with it. Almost like we're going backwards.
Yeah, some might say. Well, here's a story that's got nostalgia written all over it. There's a new Pokemon game coming out next month, and it's a pretty big departure from the brand. I'm pretty excited for this.
Oh, okay, Cameron. It's called Pokopia?
Yeah, Pokopia.
Oh, okay, instead of roaming around, battling and collecting Pokemon, it's a life sim game like Animal Crossing.
You're building a world. The better you do, the more Pokemon you attract. Some of the early critics who have previewed the game say while it appears to be an Animal Crossing clone, there's a lot more that could make the game the next big hit for Nintendo.
It's out on Nintendo Switch 2 on March 5th. That would make sense why the big game, they had a commercial. People were talking about what's their favorite Pokemon.
This looks really fun. I really wanted to get it. Two problems. You need a Switch 2, and
Okay.
everybody's stayed on the Switch 1, basically. Not many people have made the jump to Switch 2.
Okay.
And the Switch 2 alone is like $500-ish,
Wow.
right? Somewhere around that ballpark. Two, I know the price of the game. It's $70.
Okay.
And it's like, this game looks great, but most life sim, cozy games, like think of The Sims, they're not $70, you usually pay a lower price. It's the same price as Tears of the Kingdom.
Okay.
And Tears of the Kingdom is this ginormous game with all these details packed into it. So,
Okay.
I don't know.
Do you have a favorite Pokemon?
Oh, I do. It's Altaria.
Okay. Fun fact, funny story before we go to break real quick. In elementary school, I don't know what it was, creative writing, or we had to revamp a story, but I did Pikachu and the 3 Jigglypuffs, like Goldilocks and the 3
That's so good.
I couldn't come
love
up with
that.
anything. And so I was like, we'll just do Pikachu and the 3 Jigglypuffs. And so I wrote a story about that.
That's
We've
so
got
good.
one more local story for you when we return on Beyond the Headlines. We're sitting down with Alex Berger to talk about restaurant reservations for Valentine's Day. Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines, our final story of the day. With Valentine's Day coming up, many couples are still scrambling to obtain reservations with their significant others.
Oh, well, hopefully they're not too late, because Alex Berger joins us now to explain how this task is getting more difficult by the minute. So,
right.
Alex, thanks for coming on. And the big question is,
Yep.
can you still get a reservation even though we're only technically like 2 nights away?
Kind of. The answer is kind of.
Okay.
The reason I say that is, yes, there are some restaurants in the area that are still accepting reservations.
Okay.
Like McDonald's?
Exactly. The fanciest of fancy.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, is you're not really likely to get that nice 5 to 8 p.m. slot that everyone wants.
Got to do a Valentine's Day brunch.
Exactly. A lot of places that are booked up, usually, some of them have like a 2:30, and there's just not a whole lot that you can book for the nighttime for Valentine's Day. So to answer your question, can you still get a reservation? Kind of. I'll get into, the next part of it here in a second, but yes, so kind of.
Ooh, I'm excited.
So where did you go today, and what did
Exactly.
they say about this weekend, Alex?
So if you can see on the video, I went to Cousins with you and Christopher
We did.
for What's on Your Table coming up
Plug.
on Monday, celebrating Black History Month. Obviously we got some soul food, some Creole Cajun inspired food. Very delicious. But we also talked to them for this story, and they are accepting reservations, but they are also accepting walk-in. So if you have nowhere else to go, or if you want to go get some Cajun food, Cousins is also accepting walk-in. Alexander's Steakhouse, on the other hand, if you are walk-in,
They're crowded on a random Tuesday.
you might have to get
Yeah, you
turned
might
away.
need a,
Alexander, they're crowded on a random Tuesday.
You might
you might need to
Yeah.
go to Chili's.
Exactly.
Or maybe
You-
Chili's is probably booked out.
Dude, yeah.
With all the teenagers.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes.
Valentine's Day's on a Saturday, so.
Yeah, but the thing about Alexander's is like you mentioned, they're a popular restaurant here in Peoria.
Right.
If you think of date night restaurants in Peoria, it's probably on your shorthand of
Right.
restaurants that you think of. And so combine Valentine's Day and then combine Valentine's Day on a Saturday.
Right.
And so Alexander Steakhouse, in talking to Ron Helms, the president of Mercedes Restaurants, who oversees both Alexander's locations, they are just about fully booked for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Wow.
More so Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So obviously today is Thursday, so a little different. But some people have gotten ahead of the curve and gone earlier this week or the weekend before or are going the next weekend. But yeah, it's a lot of restaurants, you're going to see the same thing.
And for the single folks, if you're only starting to look on Hinge right now, just order in tonight on Saturday night. I don't know.
Chinese takeout.
Look, I believe in you, but I don't know if it's happening.
There's this new place in
That's going to be
Peoria
the first
called
date on your first date on Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Canes.
Canes. Oh yeah, Raising Canes is probably slammed with Valentine's.
How is it increasing business? Because we keep mentioning Valentine's Day is on a Saturday. So how is that increasing business?
Yeah, you're going to see a much higher volume. I mean, people are already going out to eat more than they would before on Valentine's Day. So
Right.
you're going to bring out as many people as possible trying to, take their significant other out to eat.
So you will see a lot of that happening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're going to see a lot of business. You're going to see a lot of people that you may not have seen, but also at Alexander Steakhouse, tables that would usually sit 6 or 10, they're splitting them up.
Oh.
To
That
go
makes a
to
lot of sense,
so that
though,
they
yeah.
can take as many reservations as possible.
See
So
how many proposals
lots.
they're going to see on
Yeah.
Saturday.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of business and a lot of money going right back into local businesses.
That's good. Well, let's check this out before we go. Donut fans in Poland were in their element on Fat Thursday, even more so those in Krakow, where
Krakow,
where a speed eating contest let them justify eating as many of the sticky pleasures as they could.
Oh, okay. Fat Thursday being the last chance to eat all the sweets in the cupboard before fasting in Lent. Krakow's annual competition is the perfect excuse to gobble up all the calories as fast as possible.
At Krakow's Czechoslovakia Palace, the competitors got to try 3 flavors, cherry, orange, and the traditional rose. Not that the taste had a chance to register on the lips of those munching through the masses of pastry.
Did you guys see?
I want to say something very quickly. For my story, I had to go to a shopping center, and I went to Schnucks.
Yeah.
And I saw in the donut aisle, I saw a police officer getting a donut. And I had to stop myself from going up to him and be
You
like, all right, Chief.
All right.
Let's see that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a slow crime day. That's good to hear. I just had to hold. I was going to do something stupid and say something that
And make
made
it
me
a
look
high crime
silly.
day, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
We're Central Illinois proud here.
Well, thanks for joining us for today's Beyond the Headlines.
You can find all these stories and more over on our website, ciproud.com.
For breaking news and weather updates 24/7, log on to ciproud.com and download the free CI Proud to Go mobile app.